Look at this. I get the friggin' blind dude.
Let's go.
Bring on the blind justice.
So I'm a Wisp main. Does that matter? No. But am I gonna explain why? Yes. All right, bear with me because this is like my actual first Warframe video, to be honest. Well, I've been playing Wisp ever since she first released, and I've fallen in love with this frame for more reasons than others may have, but I want to go over why, because I have a build I really want to show off and why it synergizes so well with my main frame. And the exact core of this build we're going to be going over. It's a full melee Exodia Contagion build. Yes, you heard that right, in 2025. Exodia Contagion build. And even though most of the community all know about Exodia Contagion, it's actually a little surprising sometimes when I realize there's actually not as many people who do know about Exodia Contagion. And I'm wondering if it's because it's not talked about anymore because of all the nerfs that happened to it, or it's because a lot of people dabbled more into kick guns than Zaws. That's besides the point. Let's just jump right into it. So I've been dabbling in a lot of different Zaws ever since the nerf happened to Exodia Contagion back then, and it was devastating for my build because at the time when I first discovered Exodia Contagion build, I instantly put it on Wisp because it was kind of a hot topic at the time. There were a good amount of people doing Wisp Exodia Contagion builds because you didn't have to build speed on your Zaw. You can just, you know, use your motes. And I'm gonna show that exact thing right now. So firstly, we're gonna go over the Zaw and then we're gonna backtrack into why I use Wisp out of every frame for this. Okay, so firstly, I'm gonna show you guys the build right here. This is the build for my Zaw, and the parts should be on screen as well. I'm using condition overload because I'm gonna be using a stat stick. Quotes, stat stick. I don't actually use stat sticks. I'll show you what I mean by that in a second. I feel like the Riven is also needed with crit damage on it because it has a Riven Dispo of 4, which a lot of the other Exodia Contagion Zaws that were hit badly with the nerf, they had a Riven Dispo of 1 or 2 and they were still able to hit damage cap. Let me preface though, I've hit damage cap a few times with this build, but I'm not trying to hit damage cap. I'm just trying to kill shit. All right, so as you can see here, I'm not building for any crit chance. You see galvanized still, but I'm not actually building for the crit chance on it. I'm actually building for the crit damage that stacks up 4 times by 30%. Everything else on this build is pretty self-explanatory, from seeing that I'm not building any crit chance, organ shatter, crit damage, gladiator might, crit damage. Then I have my Riven, crit damage. I don't know what else would be good here. I was mainly going for crit damage for this. As you can see, I rolled this 102 times. And I also got viral being procced. And melee exposure isn't needed, but I thought it'd be good just for the corrosive damage. And as you see, Exodia Contagion, which is the necessity for this build, you need it. And that's pretty much it for the Zaw. Okay, now I'm going to go over why I think Wisp is the best choice for this type of build. Firstly, her passive makes it so that you're invisible while airborne. This won't make you invincible, but it makes it so that they will not target you, which is basically, in a way, but you can still get hit by AoEs and whatnot. The reason why this synergizes so well with Exodia Contagion, though, is because you're in air the entire time that you're doing this maneuver. That is why I believe she is one of the best people to do this with, because you're going to be in the air all the time. But that's not where it stops. Haste modes make it so you do not have to build speed and prioritize damage on the Zaw. On top of that, the shock modes is another layer of CC that keeps you alive the entire time. Because everybody hates shock modes because the enemy stops and plays. Oh, you're making the game slower. No, this is what's keeping people alive when you have a Wisp in the team. It stops the enemies just before they can attack you. This is actually an amazing perk to the motes. The healing has a drop off at a certain point, but it's still also really nice to have as well. Okay, her next ability, Will-O-Wisp, is actually my favorite ability in her kit. Not because I play Risk of Rain or anything, but the reason why is because there's 3 parts to it. First, you can teleport with it. Second, it's a distraction, which makes you invisible and undetectable on foot. Third, you become invulnerable for 3 seconds when you exit the ability. It's pretty ridiculous. You can use this to get out of the tight spaces right off rip as long as you have energy. It's also a rolling guard and a prime sure-footed in one. It's not as good as rolling guard. Well, I say it's actually better than rolling guard, but not better than prime sure-footed because it's only for 3 seconds. But it's still amazing. It's built in. It's amazing. You should always use this ability. This ability is great. Breach Surge. Okay. The thing about Breach Surge is I don't necessarily use it for the AoE from attacking an enemy and it spreading. I use this as another CC. As long as the enemies keep getting CC'd, you aren't being hit. So if you have your shock motes on and you keep pressing Breach Surge and you keep going invisible while you're in the air and you keep pressing your 2 to go invulnerable, what are they gonna do? There's not much that they can do. The only thing that would be able to kill you at that point is probably a random stasis effect just leaking through and just killing you, or some sort of AoE hits you and you can't do anything about it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Breach Surge is just my favorite CC to use, honestly. And the 4th ability, we subsumed, and I know it got buffed recently. I might make a build on that, but for this build's sake, we're using Wrathful Advance. I think everybody knows why, but I'm still gonna go over it. Well, firstly, I actually like it because it's another teleport, and it's kind of quicker than pressing Wisp's 2. You have 2 teleports. But the reason why we use it is because when activated, you get 322 melee crit chance of, obviously based on your ability strength. And this makes it so I basically don't need to build for crit chance on my Zaw. I can pop this ability and get guaranteed red crits without even doing anything. That's basically why this build works. Without this, I don't think this build works, in my opinion. Just for me, at least. And your Archon shards, I want to say that they're optional. I think you can get away with having just 3 of these and then 2 flex ones. I obviously went the other route and I, put all purple shards that are doing melee crit. I think you can get flexible and creative with this though. And I'll also go into the actual Wisp build itself. So we're gonna use holster amp because as long as you don't hold F and swap to your melee weapon, if you're holding your primary or secondary out, then you aim glide and throw out Exodia Contagion, holster amp applies to it. Same thing with vigorous swap. And so this augment mod just makes it so that you put all the motes down at once. You don't need this. I'm lazy and I like the quality of life of just throwing out all the motes at once. As you see, I'm still running rolling guard just because it's just fun to have as like a flex. I don't have prime sure-footed, or that would be here, but yeah, that's basically the only reason why. We're building mainly strength here. This is a strength build. It's all just for Wrathful Advance and also for the motes. And ability duration for Wrathful Advance, more ability strength. It's all strength. Energize is not needed. You can actually remove one of these strength mods and actually put Archon Stretch there and use the shock motes to gain your energy from that. I just like using Arcane Energize because I like using Arcane Energize. Arcane Fury You can actually use Arcane Fury or Arcane Arachnid. It's just a little bit more work to use Arcane Arachnid, just a tiny bit. Either or works though, pretty damn well. So you can use either or. All right, so next I'm going to talk about the primary weapon. You don't need this. I'm just lazy. I think it helps a lot. The passive for the Rauta makes it so that when you're shooting enemies, it starts to build up your melee combo by shooting them. You don't need a strong build for this gun. I think you just need some fire rate and some ammo. You don't need a strong build. You just need this as a way of getting your crit chance to 12. I would say though, you actually don't even need combo count for this build, but it's nice to have. It's just nice. It's more damage. It's nice to have. And I'm lazy. I don't like killing enemies with my melee weapon to get combo chance. So I use the Rauta. Okay, the secondary is very optional. This is just an old reliable because there are enemies that are too tanky to actually get one-shotted by Exodia Contagion. So I have the Vasto. The name explains itself, all right? The name explains itself. I have the Vasto just as a setback of if there's an enemy I can't kill with Exodia Contagion, I can pull this out and just one-shot it. And for the if you actually do want this, for the arcane, there's 3 different arcanes that I think are the best ones for it. You can either use headshot, the headshot. Well, why am I saying the headshot? You can use deadhead, or I would use outburst. The reason why I would use outburst is because you could use the Rauta to get your combo meter up to 12 and then swap to this, and you can potentially just one-shot whatever is in front of you. Or you can use dexterity because you're killing enemies with your melee weapon already. So you can, you know, just swap to this and just get your kills off of what you need to kill. And that's basically that for that. I can show that off as well as why I use it. I also use Narmon. I'm not maxed out, of course. I basically am. I don't think it matters. Just for the first ability though, you can keep building up your combo with the Rauta, but it decaying over time really fast does get a little bit of annoying. So running Narmon is, you know, kind of the best bet. I think you can also run Matarai, or where is it? I think it's Matarai. I think, yeah. For Void Strike, you can get some more damage out of it. I run Narmon though. I just don't like my combo being decayed so quickly. And when it comes down to the stat stick, this is my stat stick. Yes, this is my stat stick. I think a lot of people know what this is, but most people don't. I'm lazy. I do not like sitting there waiting to shoot an enemy with a stat stick to get it up. Even if it's an epitaph, I don't want to use it. So I let this little thing do it for me. And this is basically the build for it. I'll show it off soon. And then here is the weapon for him. Just anything that can get stasis on the enemies. And a range mod to make the bubble that it shoots out shoot out further. And that's pretty much it for the build. And I'm just going to show some gameplay of showing off how it works. All right, let me show this off. So this is basically how you would run this build. Not really that complex. Pretty lazy build. As you see, status effects getting put on everybody. And then you would just do raffle advance. And then you go to town. Pretty self-explanatory. And the thing about the companion, it doesn't only shoot out a big ball around it. It also shoots out this little dart that goes around and starts hitting all of the enemies around it. And it's also stunning them with that shock. it's just ridiculous. Because on top of that, you're also able to give your companions your motes. So giving a shock mote to a companion that is consistently adding stasis to enemies, including electricity, it just causes them to just not be able to move. Oh god, there you go. Okay, so yeah, here we go. See all this damage just going, I've there's nothing else I can really say about this. And I could show off this as well. You press your 2, you're invisible. Okay, somehow this enemy's not being hit. Okay, there we go. You build up your incarn, then you could just go to town with that. Even just pressing left click, shooting them without the incarn form, it still drops red crits. It has 300 crit chance on this weapon already. It's just a ridiculous weapon. Like, I don't know why more people don't talk about the Vasto. The Vasto is such a fun weapon. And then let me also show off why I use the Rauta. I can press my 2 so they don't detect me, so I don't get hit. See in the top right, I get my combo count. Boom. Easy damage. Don't mind my life support. I ain't gonna lie. I'm not the biggest fan of the Hell Scrub survivals, but I just thought it'd be nice to go into new content to show this off. The only reason why, though, I'm not the biggest fan of it is just because of the whole system of having to go to each life support container. As you see, though, I do get knocked down because I don't have sure-footed. That's when you just pop your 2 really quick for the invulnerability, and you won't get knocked down, but you have to remember to do it sometimes. And you should have enough energy to really just keep popping that. I'm getting a bug right now. There we go. That's pretty much the entirety of this build, though. It's a really not that in-depth build. Does a lot of damage. It does what it needs to do.